Afternoon again everyone, welcome to another video. I hope you're all keeping well at this peculiar time in history during the lockdown. I don't know what day it is, I've kind of lost track. Today's video, as you can probably tell by the title, is another garden camp, and I've purchased yet another shelter. This is the problem with the lockdown at the moment. I've got a lot of time on my hands and I'm on eBay a lot, but this was a bit of a bargain. So this right here has probably just arrived, really, arrived this morning, and it's a little hooped bivvy, a twin hooped bivvy. So I got it brand new. They're like sort of from a wholesaler's, I guess. Got this for £30, free postage and packaging. Now it did come from China, so I know what you're thinking right now with what's going on. That's a bit of a dodgy place to be ordering stuff from, but I've disinfected it, I've been cleaning my hands, I've left it out here for a couple of hours once we've disinfected it and stuff, so it should be okay. As I say, it's a twin hooped bivvy, cost me £30. You can pick these up on eBay like really cheap. They're selling them for around £30 to £45, so naturally I looked for the cheapest one, and they're all the same. You can tell it's cheap from some wholesalers like abroad when it comes in a bag like that. So I've not opened it up yet, apart from that bag in there, just to, as I say, disinfect it. So let's have a little look at it. What I'm thinking of by doing this video is that if any of you out there are looking for a hoop bivvy or a way of doing sort of a really stealthy wild camp in the future, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on hooped bivvies because they can be quite expensive, then if this is any good, this could be the way forward. You know, it could be worth considering buying one then. So I'm not sponsored by the people that sell these. I just saw it and thought, do you know what, I'm going to give it a go for 30 quid, and it'll give me a video to do while we're stuck in lockdown. So as you can see, it's quite a nice compact sort of package. I'll have to look on the computer again to find the stats. It's ridiculously light. It's under a kilo, so it says. I mean, it feels pretty light. It feels a lot lighter than my Radbridge Raider hoop bivvy, but then we all know how good quality that is. But then to buy one of those brand new, you're looking at like 250, 275 quid. Luckily I got mine next to new for 150, but still it's a lot of money, so don't regret it though. It's probably my favourite shelter. It might be my second favourite, I don't know. So let's open this up. So you get a stuff sack, cord, and then it's all tied up with a ribbon. And we'll unravel it. So that's the bivvy itself, single skin. Let's look at the pegs first. I mean, straight away the quality's not bad. It feels fairly good fabric, probably not the best, but for 30 quid. Let's look at our pegs. Okay, so the pegs are pretty small and they're fairly heavy. You could probably go lighter, but yeah, they're pretty cheap, they're pretty basic, but for sort of fair weather camping they would do the job really in most soils, of course, apart from like sand and shingle like on a beach. That's your pegs, and then you've got that guy line, which is, I'm guessing it is luminous, and it looks like it's got reflective detailing on it, so you'll be able to see that at night, so you won't trip over it. You know, your head torch or your light will reflect off of that, so maybe not so good for stealthy camping, but you could always change that out. It feels fairly light, it's fairly thin cordage, maybe not quite Dyneema, but it's not bad, so you get a roll of that. And let's look at the poles next. So the thing I liked about this is that it's actually like aluminium poles, they're not fiberglass poles or anything like that. So they feel fairly light, they're pre-curved. They feel a little bit flimsy and a little bit thin, but they're fairly sturdy. I mean, they remind me of my Pro Action tent, the little Tiger Paws one I've just bought. And there you can see it clips into the eyelets on the end of the poles, so it's got a bit of bend in it. I'm not going to bend it too much, also I don't actually want to break them. And it's got shot cord in it as well. And they feel magnetised as well, which is good. And then this is a bigger pole, so I'm guessing this is of course the head end pole. Yeah, there we go. So we've got one for the foot end, one for the head end. So with this bivvy, it's a top loader, so you have to get in from one end, so it requires a bit of wriggling, kind of like the Ridge Raider, but at the foot end it's got a hoop as well, so it's kind of like the Rab Ridge Master, which is sort of similar to the Ridge Raider, except it opens from the side, and yeah, it's got two hoops in it. Let's have a look at the bivvy itself. So it's a really nice khaki green colour. I didn't know it would be like that. I thought it was going to be a darker sort of, almost dark turquoise. And what's really cool about it, it's got a mesh net door as well, like a bug door, and it's got a storm door as well with a little air vent, which is quite cool. So we'll have to see how breathable it is. I'm going to test it out tonight. There's the eyelets, your peg loops, and I mean that the stitching is a bit naff there. It's different colour, and it feels quite thin material. It doesn't feel particularly breathable, but then it has got those extra air vents. So, and if you've got that bug net door, so you could just have that up and leave the storm door open if you wanted, but we'll see anyway. But for 30 quid, I thought it's worth a try. And then there's your other pole sleeve for that one. And the base of the bivvy is slightly thicker material. It doesn't feel as thick as most floors of most shelters. So I would probably recommend putting some sort of ground sheet down. I'm going to be using one of my old Tyvek ground sheets. You could even get like a silver coated kind of aluminium ground sheet. I've got a couple of those, you've probably seen them on videos before. You could use that just to bounce your body heat back up, but I'll probably throw like a silver foam mat in there tonight, and my Climate inflatable mat, so I'm not too worried about losing insulation from the ground. Like I say, we're not going to know really what it's like until we set it up and until we tried it. So cue the time lapse and get set it up in 3, 2, 1, go. And you have to tie the guy lines on, of course, yourself. So I've just done some, I don't know what knots they are, nothing fancy really. Yeah, it goes up pretty easy. I mean, tying the guy lines on is probably the thing that takes the longest. you do need the guy lines for the back, just to pull that back hoop up. I mean, I'm sure you probably could get away with not even having that hoop in if you wanted to just take it out, but you do need that up just to pull that back bit up, but the front bit will stand up on its own. So you can see the back of it, it's got like it's flattened off at one end. There's no air mesh ventilation there, which is interesting, so you're not getting like a continuous amount of air through, but because it lifts it up, I kind of think air should flow through it quite easily. We'll see. I could have given it the kiss of death there. It's got that air vent at the front, and of course it's got the mesh door, so you could keep the storm door down in nice weather, and it'd probably be alright. I mean, I don't know yet. I don't want to sort of say too much until I've actually slept in it. On first thoughts, I like the colour, I like the shape of it, but as I was setting up, you can kind of feel the cheapness of like the material and like, you know, the manufacturer quality. But for 30 quid, what do you expect? So, you know, it could be like a cheap, simple little bivvy that you could use in the summertime when the weather's really good, you know, because I don't know what it's going to be like in the rain. It's probably going to be awful. You'd probably have to waterproof it with some spray or nick wax. But as a summertime shelter, it'd probably work really well. And you know, you could use it for sort of camps where you sort of, you know, like on the beach or whatever. You know, if you don't mind if it gets beaten up a little bit because it's cheap. So let's have a little look inside it. I've not even looked at it yet. I've not opened it up yet or anything. I did zip the doors up to set it up, and the zips, yeah, felt pretty cheap, I'm not going to lie. So it has got double zips, so you can zip it up either way, which is quite nice, but they're just simple, cheap little zips. You could attach like little bits of paracord to them, or some kind of like fluorescent stuff, you know, so that you can find the zips in the dark if you wanted. That's as far as you can pull the door down, so that's pretty tight. Okay, and I've guided it out properly, so you've got to kind of squeeze in through that hole there, so that's not too good. Then we've got the mesh door. Okay, once you've opened that though, I'll take that back, once you've opened that up, it completely opens out and you can get in it. So, like I say, you've got the option. You could just have the netting up to let some air flow through, you know, if it was a nice evening, or if it was particularly bad weather, you could have both up. Okay, and it's got that little mesh air vent at the front, but I'd probably say you probably still want it open a little bit at the top, just to let plenty of air flow through, because you don't know how this thing's going to breathe. You might end up absolutely soaked from the inside out. Even if you do leave it open a little way, there's that storm flap there, so you're not going to get any rain come through that way. So inside, it looks pretty spacious either side of you. It's probably a little bit, in fact it's definitely wider than a Rab Ridge Raider. Don't know about a Terra Nova Jupiter hooped bivvy. They've stopped doing those now, which is a shame. Okay, I'm inside the bivvy and my feet are touching that far end wall. I've managed to get my cheap silver foam mat, which is basically a Thermarest Z-Lite, but you get those on eBay for like 15 quid, which is like half the price of a Thermarest, and it's just as good quality. And yeah, I think that comes from China as well. You do have to wait quite a while. Anyway, I'm digressing. That fits in here, and there's space down at the front here still. The mat doesn't extend all the way to the end, so you can put your rucksack in there like you would the Ridge Raider. And I've got space either side of me. Now it's not quite as tall as a Ridge Raider, so but if I'm on my side, I'm ever so slightly touching the outer of this, so that's another downside to it, I would say. I haven't even got my inflatable mat in. Once I put that in, that's going to raise me up higher. You've got to take into account a sleeping bag, so I think if you was using this setup, you'd be going really lightweight. You'd probably take like a silver foam mat, a small ground sheet like I've got, a sleeping bag of course, this bivvy, you know, your rucksack, and you could fit a pillow in here. But I mean, I will try it with the inflatable mat in here as well, but of course it's just, as I say, it's going to lift me up a bit higher. Sort of like on closer inspection, you can see they have seam sealed all like the stitching areas, the stitched areas and stuff. Some of it's a little bit rough in places, some of the like the tape and stuff, but you could always redo that yourself if you wanted. But I think I would want to spray this with some kind of waterproof spray before I take it out on in any like really bad weather. But for tonight, I'm going to just use it as is. I'm not going to spray it, nothing. I'm just going to use it as is. The weather's meant to be pretty good anyway, but I just want to sort of see what it would be like if you didn't like modify it in any way. You know, just sort of see how it performs for the 30 quid. Yeah. So let's zip the mesh door up, which is, the zip's quite tight on the inside. There we go. So that's zipped up, and yeah, that of course lifts this front bit up, and it gives you that extra space to put your rucksack and stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't mind it. I'm definitely gonna sleep out in this tonight and see what it's like. I mean, it feels fairly sturdy because it's got those two hoops at each end, and it's a low profile design. It's got guy lines, and you can feel the difference in temperature change. Like that mesh door, even though it is breathable, it felt a lot warmer with that zipped up, and then as soon as you open it, you can feel the cool breeze. And I found the same with the Ridge Raider as well, was like that. Right, let's see what it's like with the storm door up. So that's, they've all got zippers at both ends. Yeah, so it's got this little air vent at the front. Yeah, that seems fine. As I say, it generates a lot of space, and because it's like a sort of a dark greenish colour, it lets a little bit of light through, but it's not tons and tons. I do like the colour. Right. So let's see if I can bring you inside, and we'll sort of have a look at sort of like my view, as it were, inside the bivvy. Right, I've had to take you off the tripod because I doubt I'm going to fit that in here as well. Let's just zip the mesh door up. Apologies about the naff camera angles. I don't do a lot of gear reviews, as you can tell. Right, so that's with all the mesh door done up, and I've got all of this space, so my mat ends here, and I've got all of this space, probably a foot or two easily in front here to store my bag, like in the Ridge Raider, so that's good. Then, so laying on my side, I've got kind of enough space, and then mean, I'm in the centre of it there, but I'm going to lay flat so my feet are touching the thing. A little bit saggy there. I could probably just maybe redo the guidelines, pull them out at different angles, but I like how that lifts it off of your legs. That's quite good, that. And to think it's actually weighs less than a Ridge Raider, which is good. So I don't necessarily have to have my rucksack right down at the foot end to lift this up, but yeah, so it is quite close to the thing, but we'll see how it goes. You've got to try these things out, haven't you? And yeah, look, you can see sort of some of the waterproof taping, the sealant. It's not the best job they've done of it. And then just in the corner there, there's some that's a little bit raggedy, but I don't know, I don't mind it. I mean, on first impressions, I would take this out on a wild camp. Probably start off in the summer with it, because I'm sure it'll probably be right in the summer, and then take it out in slightly more challenging weather. But I kind of think if you're gonna go out in bad weather and you've got shelters that are more robust than this, you'd take those, wouldn't you, really? So yeah, that's a little look inside it. Well, that's everything for tonight, all set up in there. Got my Go Light down sleeping bag, a little silk sleeping bag liner, an Exped inflatable pillow, 2 litres of water. Got my little Trangia alcohol stove, the climate mat I'll set up last. I'll set it up just before I go to sleep. Got my titanium pot and mug, a penknife, a head torch, titanium spork, Esbit triangle to fit the Trangia stove in, a little bag of some hot drinks and food and whatnot, but I'm not going to have too much. I'm not going to do any cooking tonight in this video, or ration packs. I'll have dinner in the house, of course, and then come out here, maybe have a cider. That's about it. And then my rucksack, the Osprey Talon 44. I've just got that in there with like all the stuffed sacks and some Arctic socks, a beanie hat, a down jacket, and I think just sort of some thermal leggings and thermal top. So just basically sleep clothes. That's all in there, in this brand new OEX, I think it's a 75 litre dry bag. I've just got that. I got that for about a tenner, brand new on eBay, and it fits my rucksack absolutely fine, which is what I kind of wanted, because then if I'm doing any bivvy bag camping, I can keep that outside the bivvy. I can store loads of stuff in that overnight, and it will keep it nice and dry if we have any bad weather. So I'm thinking of the future. And then I've also got just a little small silver sit mat, 4-class, that's from Decathlon. So I'm trying to go with like loads of cheap gear tonight, really, and to think the shelter's only 30 quid, and there's some stuff in there that costs more than that. But we'll see. You probably should kind of know when a shelter's only 30 quid, you kind of think, how good is it really going to be? But let's zip it all up for now anyway, and we'll come back to it later on this evening. I just don't know what this is going to be like. I'm probably just going to sleep with it open like that, to be fair. I think that'll be alright. Anyways, I'll see you in a few hours. It's about 1 AM now. I've had dinner in the house. The weather conditions are very calm. There's no wind. We've got no rain tonight. It's actually been really hot today. Like really warm. It felt like summer earlier on. I don't know if we're forecast like a heavy dew in the morning or anything. Don't know really. So we're going to see how the bivvy goes. I've got me Trangia alcohol meth stove going at the moment, because I'm going to do a Maltesers hot chocolate before I climb in. Sat outside. Thing with these Hoots bivvies is kind of once you're in them, you're in them. sort of thing. So if you're doing any cooking and stuff, you've got to kind of do it outside, unfortunately. I mean, if you had a tarp, that's not a problem, but it's a nice night. It's a little bit of a chill in the air, of course, because, well, it's night time. So I've got my down jacket on and a rab sweatshirt, beanie hat, some thermal leggings under me joggers, a pair of normal socks and some Arctic socks. I've got one alcoholic beverage to show you tonight. I've had a cider already in the house. So this is a Brewdog Hazy Jane New England IPA, and it's a 7.2%, so it's quite a strong one again. Not had this before. So it says, an all-out New England patriot of a beer. Brace yourself for a full tilt fruit hit. Pineapple, mango, stone fruit and a hint of lime head for the state line. Brewed with oats and wheat and left unfiltered for a smoother ride. Fall for the East Coast crush. Hazy Jane, clouded clarity for the IPA generation. So you can kind of see why I chose this one, because of the pineapple, mango, stone fruit and lime. Yeah, that sounds fruity, so it might not be too bitter, he says. You probably all had this before and you're going, Tom, you won't like it. God, it smells good. I've not had a sip yet, honestly. That smells amazing, but that don't mean anything. Right, let's give it a try. Oh, you can taste all the fruits in it, definitely. Oh, I don't know about that one. That's not bad, actually. Only the first sip, though. It's probably going to kick in after a while and it's going to just taste really bitter. Bearing in mind, I've just had a cider which is, you know, sweet, fruity. Normally you have a cider and then you have like a beer, and it makes the beer just taste really bitter, in my opinion. But that's not bad. I mean, there is bitterness there, of course, but it reminds me of like a cross between an Elvis juice and a quench quake. Now I think the quench quake is probably still my favourite one. Like, how that's a beer is beyond me, because it is just so sweet tasting and fruity tasting. It's amazing. I'd say that's better than an Elvis juice, but it's not quite as good as a quench quake, and it's certainly not as good as that raspberry sour by Thornbridge. That's just amazing. Definitely above a 5. I'd say it gets, I'm going to be bold and give it a 6.6 out of 10. Yeah, 6.6 I think's fair. You know, it's sort of just above average, because it's better than most beers I've had. I mean, I can drink that. It's a sipper, but I can drink it, definitely. But it's not quite as good as like a quench quake and some of the others I've had. Anyway, yeah, Hazy Jane by Brewdog. That's not bad, that. I'd drink another one of those if I had another one. Anyway, so the stove's boiling. Chat to you soon. It's a bit Blair Witch in it, this. Alright, well, I'm inside this little hooped bivvy, and weren't really that difficult getting in. Really, it's the same as the Ridge Raider. You have to get into your sleeping bag liner first, and then sort of sit down on the door, and then wriggle yourself into your sleeping bag, and that was it pretty much. I've got the Climate inflatable mat inflated, so it does lift, it does push you up a lot closer to the ceiling of the bivvy, and it's not as high as a normal like Ridge Raider. And what that bloody noise is. Sounds like a horn going. Bloody loud. Anyway, that's someone bibbing their horn. We've got like a main road sort of a couple of fields away. Anyway, fucking idiots. It's 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, it's sort of wider at the head end. It's wider than a Ridge Raider, but it's not as tall. Nowhere near as tall. I mean, I've still got, I don't know, hang on, it's really difficult in here to get. It's probably about, I've got about a hand, yeah, about a hand's height to the ceiling. So I've got there you can see behind, I've got just the mesh door up, and then I've got all my stuff in that big OEX dry sack, like my rucksack. There's the camera tripod, and I've got my X-Bed pillow on top of the dry sack, so I've got a nice comfy pillow. There was like dew forming on the outside of the bivvy, and I'm just sort of looking on the inside. Doesn't look like there's any. I mean, it feels cold to the touch, but then you get that with the Ridge Raider as well, but that never really gets damp or like condensation inside. That's what I'm interested to see what happens with this one tonight, really. That'll be interesting. Yeah, it doesn't, I don't know, there's a little bit of moisture building up. I can just sort of see it. I'm just wiping it, but we'll see how it goes anyway. If it goes tits up, I can always go in the house, can't I, and sleep. But I'm going to see what it's like tonight. So far at the moment, I'm pretty warm in here. Like I said, I could zip that storm door up, but I just want to see how it breathes really with that open. Apart from that, that's it really. Yeah, it's definitely not as much room as the Ridge Raider, so that still wins it for me. But I thought, you don't know what it's going to be like unless you splash the money really, and for 30 quid I thought, well, you've got to try it. So I'm laying on my back at the moment. I don't know what laying on my side's going to be like. Probably not ideal, as this is quite a low bivvy. Let's try it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so my shoulder is touching the roof. We'll see. My mum looked out the window, and she went, "You going to sleep in that tonight?" And I went, "Yeah." And she went, "It's like a fucking coffin." And like, I'm used to sleeping in like very small shelters, but this is a whole other meaning of like small shelter. It is pretty cramped, I'm not gonna lie, but still, it's not. I think if you're the sort of person that's claustrophobic, being in a normal bivvy bag, this is still an adequate solution to that, I think. Heard a lot of owls and a lot of foxes, but that's about it. So yeah, enough yawning. I'll see you in the morning. Night, everyone. God, I look bloody awful. Good morning all. It's 10 to 8. Birds are singing. Sun's out. I'm in sort of a little shaded spot of the garden, which is nice. Apologies for the bags under my eyes. I went to sleep earlier than normal as well last night, and I slept pretty well. I slept on my back mostly, I believe, because I was, I suppose, afraid to sort of turn over because where it's quite cramped in here, and I didn't want to sort of rub up against the ceiling of the bivvy. I mostly slept on my back, I think, so I've got to address it. The condensation in this thing is absolutely awful, and I kind of suspected that when I opened it and I saw the material. I suppose I sort of suspected that when I saw the £30 price tag on eBay, to be fair. This thing does not breathe at all, and the funny thing was, I had the storm door down, I had the mesh door zipped up. I woke up, I think, once in the night and realised how bad the condensation was, and I unzipped the mesh door a little bit, thinking it will allow some air in, let it circulate and stuff. Did absolutely nothing. What I wonder is if the outside is dry, because if that is, I'm not going to lie, we probably had a bit of dew overnight, but the outside is drier than the inside. That being said though, my sleeping bag, remember it's a down sleeping bag, my sleeping bag kept me really warm, my sleeping mats kept me really warm. I'm not going to lie, I'm warm and cosy in here. The outside of the sleeping bag is pretty wet, so a synthetic bag would probably be advised for this shelter, although to be honest with you, I don't think you'd probably really want to use it, let's be honest. I mean, I would have thought the fact that it's got two poles would sort of lift the bivvy up off of you, and it would create more space for the air to circulate and get out, it wouldn't get trapped. But it's probably the worst condensation I've ever had. And I've used normal bivvy bags, and they're notorious for doing it at times, but they don't seem nowhere near as bad as this. This is pretty bad. I'm going to show you once I get out, and I'll leave this open and it'll give it a chance to air out with any luck dry out, but I don't know, part of me feels like I should use it again in the future at some point, and like I say, just maybe use it as a summer shelter, but what's the point, you know? I've got shelters that will work in 3-4 seasons throughout the year. Do I need to keep something that only works for summer? Not really, it's a bit pointless. So, but still, nothing ventured, nothing gained, that's my belief. I'm just glad it was only 30 quid. Nice try, but it's definitely not as good as a average Raider, but I knew that. Now, I've never used a Terra Nova Jupiter bivvy before, hooked bivvy, but I'm sure it's nowhere near as good as one of those either. Let's climb out and I'll see if I can show you some of this condensation. The outside is more or less bone dry. I mean, that could be because the sun has been on it for a little while, I guess. But yeah, that is completely dry to the touch. Now I thought, seeing as it wasn't forecast rain, it didn't really matter if the ground sheet was poking out. You can just sort of start to see the build up of dew sort of here. I suppose that's where that's not dried. My feet didn't actually touch the back wall the whole night. I mean, I could have stretched and reached them with my toes, like tiptoes, but that was quite good. my mat is right up against that. Let's see, around this side that's been in the shade. You know, that's quite dry to the touch. It's the inside is absolutely soaked. Look, yeah, you can see where we've had the dew. Hang on. You can make that out, yeah, so that's quite wet. As is the bug net, that's a bit damp. Let's get my sleeping bag liner out of there. And then down bag. We're not going to really pick it up, but trust me, that's wet. That's wet. That needs drying, kind of wet. You might just be able to pick it up on the camera. I can't really tell. There you go. You can see that is soaking. So that's going to get aired out, and dried. That's going to think it's had holiday. And then inside you can see where, get it to focus, where my climate mat had sort of slid and was up against the wall. It's that's got damp. See if you can make this out. How much condensation there is in there. I thought it would circulate round that bit. Yeah. So the condensation is pretty bad in this. Now I would have thought if you got the mesh door closed but the storm door open, that would be maximum ventilation. No way. It could probably do with a little air vent or something at the far end of the footbox, but I'll be honest with you, it's just better fabric is needed to be used for it. But I suppose you can say one thing, it kept me warm, so it did sort of serve its purpose. It would keep you out of the wind. Whether it keep you out of the rain, we're yet to see, because it could let the rain in. But with this amount of condensation, I don't think it really matter, because you're getting soaked from the inside out anyway. You can see where some of the condensation's dripped. It's pretty bad. Like, it was all over this top bit. That's starting to dry out though. Even though on my down jacket has absorbed it every time I've touched it. Yeah. Like I say, I'm not that gutted really, because it was a £30 shelter, and I thought for a £30 hooped bivvy, you just don't know unless you try it. And what better time to try stuff like this than during the lockdown, where you can only camp in your garden. You know, safest place. Better to do that than to take this out on a wild camp and find out. But like I say, I'm not cold, I'm not wet, apart from maybe my arm's a little bit damp where I've touched the ceiling in the night. But you know, it did kind of do its job in some ways. I'm probably just better off with one of those silver emergency blanket type bivvy bags then. Had I not had the sleeping bag, yeah, I'd have been soaked and I'd have been cold. If you're going to be stupid enough to buy one of these or use one, use a synthetic bag with it. Although this is still keeping me warm, probably because I think it might have a Pertex outer shell, so it's sort of, it's almost like water resistant, but it's not waterproof of course. But the down doesn't feel like it's clumped together yet. Anyways, I'm waffling on, but yeah, consider this like a little experiment. So I'll probably come back to you in a little bit. I'm going to head in, maybe grab a couple of hours sleep, then a bit of breakfast, Well, it's been probably over a full day now since I slept in this this little cheap bivvy. My final thoughts on it, I mean, for 30 quid, of course, you got to expect it's not going to be a Terra Nova Jupiter or a Rab Ridge Raider hoop bivvy. You get what you pay for, really. The things I do like about it are the aluminium poles. The fact that you've got a pole at the head end and a pole at the foot end. It does kind of lift the roof of the bivvy, as it were, off of your sleeping bag, so you'd think it allows air to flow and stuff. I like the mesh door, the bug door, that's really good. The storm door with that little air vent is a good idea as well. I mean, the pegs, yeah, are not the best. They're cheap, but for normal ground like this, they work fine. The guy lines are fine. It's a wide bivvy, which is good. I like that. And I like the weight as well. It is a very, very lightweight bivvy. It's about 700 grams, so you know, you're well under the kilo mark. It's like 300 grams and change lighter than the Rab Ridge Raider hooped bivvy. And I like the colour as well. It's a nice kind of stealthy green. It's sort of a more natural green than some of the greens that you get shelters made in, especially tarps. So, on to the things that I don't like about it. I mean, the first thing, the main thing, is the lack of breathability. That's probably the wettest I've ever known a bivvy to get inside. It was actually wetter on the inside than it was on the outside, and you know, we had I suppose a fairly heavy dew that morning. Yeah, the material's cheap, so it's not going to be breathable at all. It's, you know, it's a bit naff. I haven't used it in the rain, of course. I mean, you know, we're experiencing kind of like an early summer here at the moment. It has been ridiculously hot, so I can't really see that we're going to get any rain anytime soon to test it, but I'm going to keep the bivvy and I will test it out in the rain at some point. Yeah, so breathability is crap on it. It could do with an air vent at the foot box as well. I even had this storm door down and I just had that up, the mesh up, and it still didn't breathe right. The other thing I'm not keen on is that it's very low. It's just too low. If you're a side sleeper, no chance. And I mean, even if you lay on your back, you know, it's still really close. It's literally like about a hand's length in front of your face, so you've not got a lot of room to play with in terms of height-wise. Width-wise, perfect. I mean, yeah, the material could be better quality, could definitely be more breathable, but then it's going to be more money, isn't it? Because you think about it, Gore-Tex, event material fabrics, they're not cheap. So where they've cut down in weight and on price, you've lost out on breathability. It's just like the height and the lack of breathability on the bivvy that I think is what lets it down. But apart from that, it's not too bad, really. I definitely prefer my normal bivvies like my OEX Bush Pro, Outkit Hunker, even the Rab Survival Zone. That's quite tight. And definitely my Rab Ridge Raider hoop bivvy. That is probably one of the best bivvies there is out there, especially hooped bivvies. You know, if you ever get a chance, if you ever see one online going cheap, I highly recommend just getting it, because you know they average like 250, 275, like RRP. If you can get it cheaper than that, get one, definitely, because they are incredible. And hoop bivvies are good for people that don't like the claustrophobic feel of a faceless bivvy. You know, it sort of still kind of feels like you're in a tent in a way, but just a small tent. So, I mean, I was hoping the idea of this video would sort of give you a few ideas of, like, you know, if you're starting wild camping, or if you're starting bivvy bag camping in particular, and you don't like the idea of a faceless bivvy, but you don't want to spend the sort of grab Ridge Raider prices, that you could maybe get one of these. I still agree with that. I still think you should try it out. I mean, yeah, if you're quite broad, you've got no chance of side sleeping. Yeah, if you're quite a small person, you'll be all right in there. Yeah, I mean, for 30 quid, I say 30 quid, mine was 30 quid, but you can get the same bivvy for like all different prices on eBay. It's weird, because it comes from, you know, like abroad, they just like knock them out willy-nilly, don't they, in the factories, so they average between 30 and 45 quid, so if you can get one sort of around the 30 quid mark, you won't get it for less than 30 quid, but get one for around the 30 quid mark, and that's not too much money that you've lost if you think, oh, it's crap, Tom, don't get one. So yeah, see what you think. It's an idea anyway, okay, but like I say, if you can get your hands on a Ridge Raider, get one, definitely. Terran over Jupiter hoop bivvies, they don't produce them anymore. They're a little bit cheaper than the Ridge Raider, and yeah, once again, if you see one of them, get one. I hope you found the video useful, and you know, I hope it's maybe given you a few ideas of what you could do regarding hoop bivvies, maybe giving this a try, but I'll leave it up to you. I personally wouldn't use this that often, I'm not going to lie, but like I say, 30 quid, that's not too much of a loss anyway. So yeah, apologies for waffling on, but I just felt like I wanted to go through the pros and cons of this and explain my reasoning for buying it. As I say, this was an experiment really, and I'll be honest with you, I've enjoyed doing it. I didn't have the best night's sleep in it, because as I say, it was so cramped, breathability was awful, but it was fun. Yeah, I really do appreciate the support, and yeah, thanks for sticking with me during this time at the moment, because like I say, I can't get out on wild camp. I'm literally having to see this garden every video, so I'm trying to sort of add different content in, rat pack reviews, gear reviews, alcohol reviews, and maybe where I can fit in like a little local day walk. So it is what it is really. Just if we all behave ourselves, hopefully the lockdown will be lifted sooner than they're predicting. So anyways, take care of yourselves, look after each other, stay safe, keep washing your hands, don't snog random people, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you everyone, see you soon.